So here I am with my spreadsheet open, the one that we're supposed to be doing our analytics on. And first off, what I'm going to do is just really quickly, it's a good idea for you to just organise and get to know your data before you actually start analysing it. So first off, I'll just do the standard old things that I like to do is just clean it up a little bit, get rid of this bright yellow retina burning items, and give it a little bit less of a mellow colour. But before I get there, what I'd like to do is I should have probably not done that until later on, but just to explain to you, if I click around in these cells here, you notice up here that it's all just in the formula bar, it's all just pure data. So it's data which is data entry, available for people to modify with just pure text or just numbers, right? No formulas. Then when I get further over, you can see here I've got a VLOOKUP in here, another VLOOKUP. There's formulas, right? So what we like to do is, if you've already done the exercise from previous HCI, is just to make these spreadsheets a little bit easier to work with and quicker for you. It's so easier for your brain to sort of pick up what areas you can modify and which you can't. It's a good idea just highlight the bits that you reckon users should be able to enter data into, and actually just change it to a different color, like grey. So the grey actually says that you can enter data in here, and leave formulas as a white to just say yes, we've actually got some formulas in here, and please don't touch. So grey enables people to modify data, and white means formulas please don't touch, right? So I'm just going to redo this heading here again, so it's a slightly better colour. Yeah, there we go, so a little bit easier on the eye. Now if someone comes to my spreadsheet here, they know the grey, they can modify it with the text, and these guys have got formulas. Here I'll go back and get rid of this tab colour to something which is red for my reference data, which means now that people actually see that the red tab means this area will be data referenced within other tabs or worksheets. So please don't be warned, please don't stuff around with them too much. Here I'll change that yellow, retina burning yellow again. And here we've got pure data, but it's a table, so people can actually see, yeah, well, if you really want to modify, you should be able to modify any of this, so you should keep it consistent and leave it sort of greyish, colour. Yeah, we're just going to make it grey. So grey is for modifying, for users to be able to modify this stuff that's used later on somewhere. Same as this guy. I'm just going to make those grey as well, so you can modify these values, and they'll the user entry squares, right? My data sheet here, which was all my reference data. I know it's a working sheet, so for me, I usually just change those to a green sort of colour, and then any consequent like new analysis sheets which will come up, I usually change those to a bluish sort of colour, right? Let's have a look. Yeah, right. So now if I look at my spreadsheet, I know down the bottom here, red means reference data, please beware. Green one is my working sheets, as in working with the data to put formulas and so forth in, and blue ones will be my analytics, right? So in here I'll probably have pivot charts and pivot tables and the whole work, right? The next bit that you should be aware of too is make sure that your data is actually clean, right? So if you have a look here, you notice there are empty squares, right? And it's a good idea sometimes just to do a Control F, right? And I'm going to type a space, because usually what they'll do is a lot of spreadsheets just have like blank space or something put in there which can really screw things up, and I'll go look through the whole spreadsheet, and I'll say find all. Oh, sorry, go back, undo that. I want to match the entire contents of the cell for the space that I put in, right? So none found, which is quite good, right? So if I go back to my cell, just to show you, I'll purposely put a space here, enter. And if I do what I just did a second ago, and see I've got a space here, and I'm looking for the space in an entire cell all the way through the workbook, just for instance, and I do find all, it actually will find this cell here, right? So I could go directly to that cell and get rid of just the space, right? So it won't be causing me any havocs through the spreadsheet. But just to have a look through the data is a good idea. And here we've got discount voucher, and ideally this discount, instead of having like Groupon typed in there, should have been the same as this cell, these cells here, which has got the drop down list box, right? And it doesn't seem to be. So there we go, we've found a problem already, right? So where is this data coming from? Let's have a really quick look. Data validation, and obviously reference is missing, right? So immediately we know there's an error in this spreadsheet already. Let's clean it up. So let's go to reference. So it's product data. If I do reference, and you can see here they're the products. So this would have been the reference that should have been used in the drop down list box. And I'm just going to give it a name. My products, right, enter, right, and now I can actually go back to my spreadsheet here, and what I can actually do is, because I want people to enter data all the way right through, so I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to say for all the cells in this column, forever and ever and ever, I want data validation. Yep, data validation will equal my products, right? My products. So yes, let's just test it now. It should be working, so people can actually check and change the data. Now, obviously, the very first cell here, because I didn't want to do one by one and highlight the whole column, so this one here will reset it back, so it's not a drop-down list box. We've got data validation, and here I'll just say any value, right? So now it's nice and clean. So here we go. I've got a drop-down list box. I've got grey areas all the way through here to actually say that it's data entry, and these Groupon values, right, should also be a drop-down list box, right? But let's have a look down the data, and lo and behold, we've actually got this thing called scoop on, right? So is there any other type of value here that we can see through our data? It's all group on. We've only got a few which is scoop on. Maybe that's an error, right? But we won't touch it. We won't change it. But just to be sure, yes, it's all group on. I'll do Control Home to get to the top, and I'm actually going to copy that cell, go to my reference, and I'm going to create my own list here for the group on and so forth options, right? So I'm going to say here, paste the values, and I know the other one was called scoop on, right? So scoop on, I'll copy that, go to my reference, and I'm going to put here, paste the value, right? So I know these two will actually be my discount options, right? So I'll go discount options. I'm going to copy this format here, copy the format for the header, right? And I'm going to put a border around these guys, so let people know that that's an option, and put a border on this guy, and I know that this will be my list of discount, right? So my discounts, go enter. So now I can actually go back to my sales data. I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. I'll just highlight here, highlight the entire column, which means people can enter more, choose more afterwards. But for new entries, I'll do this, go data, and I want to see a list, and here I'll say equals my discounts. Okay, and now if I just check it, see, so I know that there won't be an error within my data, and obviously this shouldn't be a drop down list box, right? So we'll get rid of the drop down list box. I'll go data validation and any value, right? Now my sheet is actually quite workable, right? I know people are not going to make a mistake by putting in GRP on and all this sort of stuff. It's the data validation will make my my spreadsheet a little bit more usable and more accurate, right? Other things you could also do is build up a customer list maybe in another sheet later on. But the other things you later on, if you get very proficient in Excel, you could also add here a calendar, so you don't have to type the value. You would double click and actually pick from a calendar control, right? Which is another little option for HCI, basically usability for your spreadsheet. So I'm just going to save this, and then we're ready to do some analysis, I suppose. So let's try it in the next